All right, let's talk about becoming the architect of your ESL classroom. We're going to show you exactly how to swap that feeling of classroom chaos for the cool confidence that comes from having a master blueprint, one that pretty much guarantees real, measurable success for your students. So, why is structure such a big deal? Well, because it's a powerful win-win. For you, the teacher, it gives you immediate control. It lets you navigate those short attention spans and keep everyone on track. But for your students, it's all about long-term growth. You see, structure creates this predictable, safe space where they can build skills they can actually see and feel. Okay, so before we even think about laying a single brick, we have to get into the right mindset. I want you to think of yourself as the architect of learning. Your lesson plan, it's not just some to-do list. No, it is the master blueprint for the entire classroom experience. Every great architect lives by a set of principles, right? Well, this is your planning mantra. It's all about balance. Embracing creativity while keeping a laser focus on a single language point. It's about being dynamic, mixing up your activities so your students don't get bored. But honestly, above all, it's about being human. You have to remember you're there to teach the learners in the room, not just blindly follow a script. So, with that mindset locked in, we can start laying the foundation. And trust me, this is the most critical part of the whole structure. It all starts by turning a fuzzy, vague goal into a masterful, rock-solid objective. The tool for this job? The SMART framework. Yeah, your objective has to be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-based. But really, it all boils down to one simple, incredibly powerful question you have to ask yourself before every single lesson. What exactly will my students be able to know and say by the time that bell rings? And here's what that looks like in the real world. A weak objective is something like, students will learn prepositions. That's a vague hope. It's a wish, not a target. A masterful objective sounds like this. By the end of the lesson, students will be able to use in, on, under, and next to describe where things are in a sentence like, the book is on the table. Now that is a target you can actually hit. This brings us to a core principle that is absolutely non-negotiable. Your target language, the specific words and grammar you just defined, it has to be written down on your plan. Every single time. Look, this isn't about being rigid. It's about creating an anchor. When the lesson gets a little wild, and it will, this is what you and your students come back to. It's your compass. Okay, our foundation is solid. The objective is crystal clear. Now, it's time to build the framework of learning. And we're going to do that using a proven 9-step procedure that guides the entire lesson from start to finish. This 9-step procedure is the real workhorse of your lesson. I want you to think of it like a staircase to mastery. It's broken into 3 phases that follow a really simple, powerful logic. First, you create the right environment, then you deliver the new information, and finally, you guide the students until they can use it all on their own. Phase 1 is all about setting the stage. You start with greetings to bring some positive energy into the room. Then a quick review of class rules, that reinforces your boundaries. And you finish with a high-energy warm-up to get their brains switched over from their native language and into English mode. Now in phase 2, the real construction begins. We kick things off with a quick review to wake up their prior knowledge. It's kind of like dusting off the old tools before you start a new job. Then you give them the roadmap by introducing the topic right before you deliver the new material in your core presentation. And that brings us to the most critical phase, where you actually hand over ownership to the students. You start with guided practice, where you work together to make sure they get the mechanics right. Then comes the real test, independent production, where they show you what they can do on their own. And finally, a nice, clean lesson closure to wrap up what they've achieved. The structure is built, but our job as the architect isn't over yet. Nope, now we have to inspect our work. We've got to measure if the learning is as solid as we planned it to be. And for a good inspection, you need the right tools. Your assessment toolkit is so much more than just quizzes. Think high-energy games, role-playing, group presentations. The method doesn't really matter as much as the purpose. Every single assessment is just a way to answer that one question: did my students actually hit the SMART objective I created? But gathering that data is only half the battle. The real magic? It happens in this continuous loop of self-reflection. You teach, you assess, and then you ask yourself the hard questions. And listen, this isn't about judging yourself. It's the engine of professional growth. It's how a good lesson today becomes an absolutely amazing lesson tomorrow. So let's put it all together. This is it, the complete self-improving ecosystem of a masterful lesson. Your SMART objective is the what, the target language. The 9-step procedure is the how, the delivery system. And the assessment? That's the proof, the data that feeds right back into the system, making every single lesson stronger than the last. You see, following this blueprint does way more than just help you manage your classroom. It elevates your teaching. It moves you beyond just explaining things and puts you squarely on the path to becoming a truly great, truly inspiring teacher. Ultimately, this quote, "This is the goal." Any teacher can tell. A good one can explain. But this blueprint gives you the structure and the freedom to do something more. It allows you to inspire. The plan is right here. The only question left is, what are you going to build with it?